Sir, we wait a couple of minutes till all the participants join.
As soon as you tell, then I'll start.
Yes, sir.
And
We can see around 20 have joined.
I'll do a screen sharing also.
Sure,
I have a
sure.
presentation. So I'll be helped by one of my colleagues. He's also joined on my name.
Okay, sir. Professor Tripathi, now with your permission, can we start the session? It is 3 minutes past.
Yes,
10.
of course. Yes,
Yeah.
yes, of course.
Now, I guess by this time 30 participants have joined, and gradually others will join within a short span of time.
So we can, yes. So we can start. Professor Banerjee is present.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Okay. Good morning once again to you all present over here. Good morning, respected resource persons, Professor Ramaprasad Banerjee. Good morning, the head of the Department of Business Administration, Professor Pradyumna Kumar Tripathi, Professor Partho Sarkar, head of the Department, Business Administration, Human Resource, my colleagues present over here, Dr. Abhijit Pakira, Dr. Shushmita Bandyopadhyay, and most importantly, the participants of this FDP. I welcome you all to this core part of the FDP, the technical sessions. As we have already communicated to you that all the technical sessions will be hosted through this Google Meet link. So please note the fact that no fresh links will be sent again. All of you can join all the technical sessions of all these 5 days using this one link only. That is just a clarification. We are about to commence the first technical session where we have with us Professor Ramaprasad Banerjee. Here, I request Professor Partho Sarkar, Head Department of Business Administration, Human Resource, to introduce our esteemed resource person of this technical session. Professor Sarkar, over to you.
Yes, good morning to all the participants. Respected Professor R.P. Banerjee, Professor Tripathi, Dr. Mukherjee, Dr. Pakira, and all other faculty members of the Department of Business Administration. Nothing can be more befitting in this beautiful morning to start the session with a person who is very close to our heart on one hand, and also a person who can be the most suitable expert in inaugurating or setting the ball rolling on a topic which is associated with finance. I am talking of Professor Dr. Ramaprasad Banerjee, Chairman and Director, Eastern Institute of Integrated Learning in Management, EIILM, Kolkata. With a rich experience of over 3.5 decades, Professor Dr. R.P. Banerjee perfectly harmonizes academic brilliance with industry expertise. Basically, a professor of finance and ethics, he has taught almost all areas of management, both in the context of transnational corporations and domestic organizations. As an international educationist, Professor Banerjee has been focusing on the Indian spiritual values and spreading the fundamental message of Vedic civilization. He has focused on certain noble values like integrity, sincerity, honesty, truthfulness, cooperation, sacrifice, etc., for manpower management and managing enterprises in the business, social, and global context. Among his latest published works, the book on Art and Science of Management in the Digital Era, Indian Spiritual Wisdom for Managing Sustainable Global Enterprise, Sage publication has been published in the year 2020. He has delivered lectures on invitations at numerous universities abroad, including Pennsylvania State University, Texas University, Austin, Texas Women's University, Texas University, Dallas, Tarleton State University, University of Tennessee, University of Kansas, Arlington State University, University of Hamburg, Germany, Stockholm University, Sweden, Northwestern University, Switzerland, Mindao University, Taiwan, Putukai University, Thailand, and many others. Few of the acclaims and awards received by Professor Banerjee are as follows. Education Leadership from BBC World received in February 2017. The Asia's Greatest Leader Award 2021 conferred by Asia One on 28 August 2021. Thought Leader Award presented by CIMA in July 2015. Dr. Sarvapalli Radhakrishnan Award received for outstanding contribution to teaching presented by Hindustan Unilever at the World Education Congress, Mumbai 2021. So as I said at the beginning, nothing can be more befitting to start this session with a man who has had a huge amount of experience with management education in general and in spreading management education across the globe, an expert in finance and ethics. I welcome and it's a proud privilege for me to introduce our esteemed speaker in this session, Professor Dr. R.P. Banerjee. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Sharkar, for doing the honors. Professor Banerjee, over to you, sir.
Okay. Thank you. Namaskar to everyone. Namaste. Good morning to all. Today it's my pleasure to get acquainted with you all in this context of a 5-day special ATAL program being initiated and organized by the Department of Business Administration, University of Burdwan, and taken forward by Dr. Obik Kumar Mukherjee and supported, guided by Professor Pradyumna Tripathi, head of the Department of Business Administration, University of Burdwan, and supported by all senior professors of the university and all members of faculty in the fraternity in the university, and special guidance by Professor Partha Sharkar, head of the Department of Business Administration, HR. I convey my sincere thanks to you all for inviting me to join these sessions and share my ideas or some of my highlighting ideas on the topic. Yes, dear participants, I'm going to discuss because I understand you are all people senior or in the middle of your career or at the early phase of your career to teach students across the country and outside. You have a focus on different aspects of management, I guess with a particular reference to finance and accounting, because the guiding topic is that. My focus would be on the ethical dimension. I'm going to talk about the ethical dimension, which according to my understanding, which is pertinent and important in our understanding of finance, in our professional, program with finance as the focus, and also in our, academic activity, research, and focus for the future involving finance, or finance as a core objective in our learning and teaching. I'll begin with actually, this is a program which is likely to continue until 11:30. So we have 1 hour, 20 minutes time. I have a small question to the coordinator, Professor Ovik Mukherjee, in the beginning. Is there any provision, meaning within this time, if I manage to, maintain some 5 minutes or 10 minutes at the end, can I have an interaction with, people participating in this program, Professor Mukherjee? I'm seeking your, guidance on that, Professor Mukherjee.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Surely you can, sir.
Thank you.
That will make this session even more interesting.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for
Yes.
your, permission.
Thank you, sir.
Ethics is something which has got a long story to get it approved and accepted by the academic community and professional community in the world. I'll tell you, in the academic community, ethics is still an outsider. It's not just a part of our core curriculum in our academic progression, academic focus. Yes, in business administration, we have considered ethics as very pertinent. That is the reason why. Because the corporate world, they are harping on ethics more and more, and particularly during these days. Therefore, it's become an imperative on the academics to again, put emphasis on ethics, apart from having just a curriculum or just a paper or a part of paper in many cases. Many universities do have a part of a paper. However, some of the universities have got a full paper. There are places where it has got a emphasis beyond having one single paper. So from that perspective, I would suggest that I suggested myself to structure my talk for this 1 hour 15 minutes roughly, or 1 hour 10 minutes. This way, I'm placing before you. I would seek support from one of the participant, anyone, whether this is acceptable to the participants or not. First of all, I'm going to talk about give a theoretical framework of where do we stand, where do we stand with respect to the conceptual background of ethics, and then we proceed to certain areas of functional connection on ethics, the relevance of ethics, and finally, I wish to leave a case to you for you to discuss within yourself. I'll give some inputs on that, and at the end, a few minutes of interactive discussion. This is what I have thought about. Any objection or any suggestion for changing the focus of talk, or the way of talking from anyone among the participants in this August program? Kindly please, one person at least, please unmute yourself and tell whether this is acceptable or some change is expected. Can I expect the view of any one participant?
Sir, is it accepted, sir?
Okay. Mr. Harish. Thank you, Mr. Harish.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. So I guess what Mr. Harish has sounded, I guess this is not going to be in disharmony with the thoughts of all others or most others. And from that point of view, I'm going to proceed. I just mentioned that in economics, there's a new stream, as you all understand, and I probably most of you know. The new stream had emerged almost 60 years ago, around 1970s, mid of 70s, and was recognized end of 70s, 78 through a Nobel Prize to Salmon. That was a behavioral economics. Behavior, considered into economics. And then gradually the idea got into, the depth of the area of thoughts. Daniel Kahneman also had added to that. And finally, Taylor, 2017. So this 1978, 90s, then this, just prior, decade, the thought had emerged that economy should be understood from a different perspective. And the perspective is, there is a mass considered very relevant, whose consumption becomes very important in our economic, policy making and identifying the determinants of economic management. And therefore, mass consumption came into picture. I'll tell you, between First World War and Second World War, Fordism became very important. And in fact, Fordism was the instrumental behind developing mass production system. A person in the family of Ford, this person, he was Albert. He was actually initiated to a chanting person from India in USA. His name was Prabhupada. He was doing the chanting in a park, and this person, Alfred, from their family, a very young person, in the early teens of his life, got influenced, and gradually he was attracted and then became Ambarish Das. Ambarish on the board of the Ford made a difference in the outlook of Ford. And this had happened, post-World War reconstruction economy of the world was very important. So in that, mass production wasn't just alone very, significant. It needed another side, from the side of the, consumption. There's a mass consumption. So mass production to mass consumption. Ambarish had a great say in that, and gradually after the advent of computers, that mass production and mass consumption could be integrated. There was an issue. The issue was actually, focused at by some people in Harvard and some people, gradually in, in British universities, particularly this Cambridge and back to USA in Wharton. So these three I'm just mentioning: Harvard, Cambridge, and Wharton. Cambridge initially from UK and then from USA, and Wharton. A thought had emerged in, this Harvard Business School and Harvard Business Review had reflected that end of 90s it took a shift, but beginning of 90s there was certain exploratory understanding. People tried to understand where is the conflict between certain good things that were considered important while designing this mass consumption by Alfred, meaning Ambarish, and was initiated into the business stream by Japanese through their JLP, even just-in-time and lean production system, and European production system, particularly the automakers of Germany, basically in the beginning Audi had responded. And so where is the point, where is the salient feature? What is actually the salient feature? Morgan Stanley, I'm just taking a few minutes to create a backdrop of the discussion. Morgan Stanley, in its corporate decision making, took a decision that someone in the company could undertake a journey in nature somewhere in the world, and try to understand the features where nature and the work life, connects with each other. McCoy was the chairman. McCoy personally undertook this responsibility, and he took a sabbatical of a couple of months, and then it was funded by Morgan Stanley. This report first came out in 1993, Harvard Business Review, 1997, again reappeared. And, they undertook a journey into the Himalayas. It was the last team, and the funding was also, very, huge in proportion. McCoy had undertaken a journey in the Himalayas from Nepal. He initiated. The team had Sherpas and doctors from different parts of the world. Japanese was there, New Zealander was there, European was there, American was there, Indian was there, and the Nepalese person coordinating is of Indian origin. Now, this team had a target of reaching out to 22,000 feet and to place a, flag of the company over there and see what are the, points of interaction with the nature at each point and document that. Surprisingly, when they are just 4,000 feet below, and they came across with a person who was, not having any dress on the body. It was fully ice covered. The temperature was around minus 35. And, the person was bare body, sitting on that ice. And they thought that this person is dead and like a fossil or like a, piece of stone, because the person was not moving. And one lady in the team, she identified that this person is actually leaving. This person is in life as yet. But then the person needs very help. What is the help? Meaning we need to rescue the person. Now there was a, dilemma. The dilemma was, here is the life. We need to, if we wish to save the life, then there is an option. 4,000 feet below, we have a medical camp, and which is again organized by the team. The medical camp would treat the people who have any difficulty, climbing up or down. And the medical camp can take care of the person if we can take the person down 4,000 feet. But again, there was another, constraining issue. The constraining issue is, this man, if we take him down, then we waste our days over there, and it will take one day, down, and again 1 day off for us. So 2 days are lost. We have maximum 4 days left. 1 day we have to give a gap in between. So next 2 days we have to, climb the top, or else there will be a storm of, snowstorm, and it can cover everything and smash everything. So the nature is going to have a, protest against our action of this kind of humanitarian, sensitivity. So then finally they did something little bit, but then finally, the decision was, okay, let's go to the top. Our achieving the target is more important than being compassionate to our life. So let's achieve the target, and let's fulfill our aspiration of having achieved the target. And that is how, and that is why we are destined to, because our company has funded this trip. So we need to, do justice to the company first. And if any justice is required to be offered to anyone in the world, that comes the next. So the decision was to climb at the top, and they did. They could reach the top. They could, put their flag over there, and they had their, documentation. Then they came back, and this story was narrated by McCoy. Harvard Business Review had published it. I'm going to, provide, this case for academic purposes only, not for any commercial discussion or commercial activity by anyone. With this hope and with this understanding, I'm going to share it with the coordinator of this program, and probably you will get it at the end of the program. But then again, this was not end of the case. McCoy did serve the company, Morgan Stanley as its chairman, CMD for a few years, and then he had retired. After having retired from the company, he wrote an addendum to the case. And to my understanding, I've been, thorough with Harvard Business Review right from early 80s last century. So it's more than 40 years. I have not seen any paper having published twice. Maybe it may have escaped my eyes, if ever at all. But then to my understanding, it's never, except this one. This paper, this case was published again because the observation was of McCoy was considered by the HBS very, very important. He made an observation. He is a person who has been considered as a highly successful CMD in the world. McCoy was consistently having a highest and close to highest ranking in the world by Fortune. And, until his retirement, he was consistently enjoying that credibility. This man, after having retired, he mentioned in a lamenting tone, which is again published on his name as an author, that I'm going to share with you both, wherein he had an addendum with the previous case at the end of it, and he had mentioned that in my entire work life, I made a serious mistake, and that has actually tarnished my achievements in the entire life. And I find now I understand my decision on that day was a wrong decision. I should have taken side with life than having supported the cause, which is just my company's cause. Life comes first, achievement comes next. That's what is my perception after having worked in the global major finance organization for such a long period and holding the top position for also considerable period in that organization. So I'm taking cues from McCoy's observation, and then getting into a small presentation of a few slides. Please give me a minute time for meaning I'm taking help of my colleague, Mr. Hazra. He's going to give do a screen sharing, and with this screen sharing, we shall have a few slides. And on the slide, I am going to explain the theoretical backdrop or what the case that I have narrated, wherein McCoy has actually lamented, having said that he made a mistake by not considering that life most important. But then yes, so we are coming to the presentation. This presentation, yes, I'm proceeding with this presentation, Mr. Hazra. Then let's proceed to the next. Yes. This is what is, for the classification which I have made in my book of ethics, and I'm sure it's not going to be the same as you might have seen in books of ethics by various scholars in the world. But this is the way I have, understood ethics, and this is the way I've been talking on ethics last almost 3 decades in the world. There are 3 schools. One is a holistic school, the other one is a teleological school, the third one is a deontological school. Ethics is the word which is actually, originating from the word called ethikos, E-T-H-I-K-O-S. The actual proper meaning of the word is even Oxford and Collins, others have given the same meaning. Ethikos means character. So ethics is basically creating a character. When we talk about ethics in the organizational context, we need to develop an organizational character. I guess it goes beyond our observation and our understanding of organizational behavior. To my understanding, behavior is less permanent in nature than the character. I hope that same understanding shall, sustain in the, community of teachers that we are now connected with. And so, character, if you have to build a character, then there is a holistic school which combines everything. And I'll tell you, this holistic school had some, observations in the backdrop. I'll share with you a line from Paradise Lost by Milton. Paradise Lost. He's mentioning, O alienate from God, O spirit accused, forsaken of all goods, I see thy fall. Milton is lamenting, saying, why is this fall? Because, he's having an understanding that there is a fall. What is the fall according to Milton? Why the paradise is lost. And where is it lost? And by whom it's actually lost? Milton is coming to the conclusion saying, the paradise is actually lost by you and me, all of us, in the society, in the world. And why is it lost? That is saying that we have become alienated. We have distanced ourselves from the spirit of goodness. The spirit of goodness, whether we call him or call the spirit as God or not, that doesn't matter. But there is a spirit of goodness. And we have created a distance between. I am not a part of that spirit of goodness. I want to remain alone on my personal selfish considerations and personal selfish ego. And when I consider myself a part of the society, my society has to have me first, others next. In my society, I'm the first. I'm the first and others are next. So what I do is I consider myself first because I am the most important person. Cogito ergo sum. René Descartes announces. He says, yes, I think, therefore I am. My being is a determinant factor of my understanding of my being. If I do not exist, then who exists? Who else exists? If McCoy has to lament, then I would criticize McCoy. I would say, McCoy, you are correct because you have fulfilled your selfish understanding, your selfish consideration. Yes, McCoy, you had an objective. You had a focus to reach. You had a target to achieve. And you've done that. And because you have done that, you are a successful person. But McCoy writes, perfection is better. Yes, I am a successful man. I can't be considered a man of perfection. I have deviated from the law of perfection. The law of perfection, I take a liberty to quote two lines from Sri Aurobindo's Savitri. I just mentioned Sri Aurobindo. I believe many of you might be knowing Pondicherry. Sri Aurobindo mentions in the being of Savitri. Savitri is the person who upholds truth, maintains truth, represents the divinity, represents the wholesome goodness of the universe. Savitri mentions, find out thy soul, recover thy heed self. In silence, Sick, God's meaning in thy depth. Then mortal nature changed to the divine. Savitri mentions there would be a transformation. This mortal nature would transform to a divine nature. And then what happens is, it contains everything. A person from India, now a very profound scholar and scientist considered in the United States of America for a very long period. The name is Siddharth Mukherjee. He has been doing his research on cancer cells, and he is in the cancer mutation and this stem cells transformation of cancer. He and his team has done remarkable work, and there is a report just a couple of months back that he has been recommended for that Nobel. Whether he gets or not, that's that apart. I'm quoting a part of a line from him. Is written. And this I'm quoting from his book on cancer. Cancer, he considers that enemy to life, which has until now no answer completely against its own voices. He mentions the black hole within the cave of heart needs to be illumined. Siddharth Mukherjee mentions that there is a black hole within the cave of your heart, and he finds through genealogical research, he establishes this as a fact and puts across the point saying that a disease is not a part of organ or organic phenomenon so far as a partial organs or the part of an organ is concerned. Any disease that occurs in the body is a part of the whole sum. It's created out of the entire. It's some kind of departure from the holistic balance of life. And therefore he says, the black hole needs to be illumined. I'm requesting Mr. Hasda for the next slide, number 3. Mr. Hasda, next slide. Well, I guess some problem is there at his end. He's unable to roll out the next slide. So, I'm going to mention about this. You see, normative ethics, which we talk about. In the normative ethics, we have these 3 segmentations: holistic principle, eternal principle of ethics, and empirical principle of ethics. I'll share it to you all the presentation slide that I have crafted. For some reason, it's not getting streamed in, so I'll share it to you all. Now, what happens is, how is it connected with the work and the schedule of work? It's actually connected with the work and the schedule of work in a way that ethics does never mention that you have to wait for God to get your things done, and you don't have to do anything for that. Rather, on the other hand, it says that you have to do things which are required of you, which are essential for your purpose. Have a purposeful work in the work life, and you create that purposeful work as the dominant feature of your activity in the world. How does it start? It starts with a thought. And the quality of thought determines the quality of the work. And in that, teleological and deontological, these two are there at two extreme ends. One is teleological. Teleos is consequence. It's a Latin word. Teleological means consequential. This is on one side. The other one is deontological. Deon, or in simple pronunciation, you can mention Deon, D-E-O-N. This root word has a meaning of duty. So one is your consequence, teleos, or teleological, consequential. The other one is your duty, duty-oriented, or duty orientation, deontological. One is teleological, one is deontological. Plato made a horizon for the world to explicitly show it before the world, before humanity, that goodness has to be there as the guiding spirit of your life. Whether you are a professional working in a corporate, or you are someone who is now, in the field of activity which is left to yourself or which is your own, that doesn't matter. What matters is what is your focus of action, what is the quality of the thought that you have actually created for. The quality of the thought that you have created for yourself is actually going to give a shape to the quality of the work that you are going to undertake and offer to the world. A wonderful verse, which is actually originally in Sanskrit, written by Patanjali, the yoga, the original person of yoga, Patanjali, Yoga Acharya, and later on taken into the Majjhima Nikaya of the Buddhist scripture, and also referred to by Max Muller in his Sacred Books of the East and many other scholars across the globe. I'm going to share with you that thoughts. I'm going to mention in English, thought. What you do is sow a thought, S-O-W. The seed of thought is sown in your mind. What is the benefit of that? What is that you are going to reap out of it? What is the end result of that? The end result of thought is a work, action. So if you are sowing a thought, you are actually leading towards an action, a work. So there is a network between, there's a connection between your thought and your action. So thought is going to determine the quality of action. If somebody is thinking ill of the world, the person shall have the work which is aligned to the, creating ill for the world, evil things for the world. So then the thought is going to actually be a killer thought. thought is going to be a killer thought, meaning is killing the spirit of goodness in the world. And if it kills the spirit of goodness, then the work that comes out of it is a work which is empirical. That is the difference between an empirical principle of work and eternal principle of work. What is the eternal principle of work? If McCoy would have said that, yes, I am McCoy. Yes, I believe in the goodness of people. Yes, I believe in the welfare of people in the world. Yes, I do respect life. Yes, I think that life comes first. Yes, I want to save a life. If I can save one life, that is, a boon to me. That is what I have done the best in my work, in my life, in my work life. McCoy could have said that. McCoy could have developed that understanding, which he had developed later on. He could have developed that at that point of time. If he had developed at that point of time, the entire scenario of the expedition would have been different. Yes, by having that choice, their journey would have been pushed to a risky end. But again, there was a margin of a day in between. In that margin of a day, one doesn't know whether the storm comes or not. A day after that, it is certain. In between day could be hazardous, but may not be that kind of, obstructing to their journey. In our corporate life, if we stick to adhere to the goodness of thought and try to generate that goodness of action, then probably it flourishes all the stakeholders in the corporate. The shareholders, the people in the society, government, the employees and other partners in the society, others, and the person himself. Apart from this, those who are never connected, those who are not connected. There was a meeting of the board of Ford when Ford was hit by the Japanese companies middle of 80s. And in that meeting, Ambarish Das was present. By that time, he has turned into a devotee of this organization, Hare Krishna organization. And Ambarish raised an issue. It asked a question. There's a time when CSR as a kind of module wasn't there in India, wasn't there in China or any other part of Asia, was a talked about thing in the world. But again, this talked about thing was just a talking point, but not a point which was actually a facilitating point or a point which is an ultimate objective of the things. Ambarish had mentioned that we prize the achievements. We prize the achievements. That's our tradition. But can't we prize the goodness? Let's prize the goodness. His company was the first, having announced from the corporate board that goodness would be prized by the company. Yes, the company was declining in market share. But again, after a few years, company got back its own strength. But at that juncture, even the company took a decision with the advice of a nobleman being on the board. And that nobleman had said that we need to prize the goodness in the organization. Good thought, good action. What is the meaning of goodness? He was asked. He's mentioned See, the goodness has to be empirical. As also the goodness has to be eternal at the same time. If I have an assigned work, I need to do the work. I need to devote myself. I need to devote my mind and energy for that. But again, the benefit of the work that I have done should not be calculated for my own. My goodness of thought and the good spirit in my work should spread across and provide a benefit which is a wholesome benefit for all whoever is concerned. CSR, corporate social responsibility across the world, started evolving in a great way with a great force. International institutions developed, and gradually that becomes a national force almost all over the world now. Now Patanjali suggests, so a thought to reap an act, so an act to reap a habit. So a habit to reap a character, so a character reap a destiny. How do I create a destiny? It's the character. It's your character which creates your destiny. The character creates the destiny. How do I develop the character? The character I developed because I had originally a good thought. What Savitri had mentioned. I had mentioned about Sri Aurobindo. Find out thy soul. Recover thy hid self. In silence seek God's meaning in thy depths. Then mortal nature changes to the divine. Does not say that you withdraw from the world, you withdraw from the work. Rather, it extends and refers to the Vedic verse which says, Sangachudvang, Sangbadudvang, Sangbhumanam si janatam, Devavagam yatha purvi sanjanana upasatehe. It says, you are important in the world, but others are equally important. You are important, your things are important, your demands are important, your requirements are important, your presence is important, but equally it is important for all others. So what should be done? You connect your mind, you connect your actions together. Sangachudvang, sangbadudvang, sangbhumanam si janatam. You create a kind of destiny for the world through a collective workforce. You be a part of the collective workforce for the world. You speak that global words. You speak that universal tongue, which is actually, which covers everything, which covers everyone, which includes everyone. We talk about bottom line, Milton Friedman. He talked about the pyramid. The bottom of the pyramid. Veda says that bottom, the middle, the apex, wherever you are, consider yourself one amongst the others. You are not alone. Your presence in this world is the sum total of the contributions from all others in the world. And therefore, you should consider that the world is a place where you have a destined role to perform. And goodness should be there, intrinsic in every thought and every action of yours. Mr. Hazra, can you go for the next slide, please? Yes. Teleological school has evolved greatly in the world. I guess those who are teaching general management or human resource management or certain aspects of marketing management, even behavioral finance, those who are teaching, you know that there are companies who have the promise and credo across the globe. They mention that we are not out there to make a profit. We are doing certain destined work in the world, and we are meant for that. It's not only the profit, you know, we are doing something which is beyond profit. And yes, profit is a part of the thing. We do activities which leads to profit, but again, that's not our sole objective. Not even that's the final objective. Profit is a part of the objectives, which is our empirical part of the objectives, or the empirical objective. Now, this teleological would consider the consequences. I'm selling baby product. I need to be considered in the society, in the eyes of people in the society, that yes, I'm performing ethical. I'm into pharmaceutical in the world of medicine. I'm into navigation, carrying people across the deep seas. I'm into, upper sky explorations, or the future destination I'm going to create for people on different planets or different places in the universe, cosmic places. I need to be trustworthy. I am now disconnect from each other. I'm not getting the smell of the other person. I'm not getting the complete view of the other person. We are alienated from each other. We are distanced from each other. We call it a digital era. That's what we are now connected right now, today, here, right now also. So what is our bonding parameter? How do we create the bonding? Yes, the companies have got their own parameters of, supervising and observing. The parameters are there which would supervise and observe. You are there in TeamViewer, you are there in other circuits, and the company has got a unique way to observe you. You can observe others. They can observe you. When your student is writing the exam, you can monitor proctored examination. When you are at a different place, if I'm I'm a person working in a company, the company has got various eyes to observe me. Yes, it is there. That is a mechanistic connection that I am into. But how far? This mechanistic connection has a limit. Can't read my intention. So what is that I have to do? What is that I need to become? That is a core word now in the world. Trust. I need to be trustworthy to you. What I'm doing, what I'm saying, what I'm writing, what I'm communicating should have an element or a major element of faith. And we exchange with each other on the cord of faith, on the basis of trustworthiness. If I am not trustworthy, how can you trust me? You are my boss. If I have to earn your trust, I need to be trustworthy to you. How do I become a trustworthy person? A mere utility won't be able to do. Mr. Hazar, next slide, please. What do we have to do? We have to develop certain mechanism in the corporate world. Here we have got a mix I'll mention afterwards. The recent model which Rawals and Nozwick, they have advocated last 2 decades. Those models have been collated and combined together. what are you doing? For the fulfillment of individual and corporate self-interest. That's what we are doing. To see the action experiences light of the day, meaning the targeted action gets completion on the days of target or on the terms of target, and control the consequences of action for a short run or a long run. We maintain a principle, either the maximum or minimax. And from there, we'll proceed to the next slide of deontological. And we find deontological, next slide. Yes. We have a rights principle. What is the right? Transactors determine the consciousness of the market. Milton Friedman said that, ethical consciousness of the market. What is this ethical consciousness of the market? I'm a consumer, you are a consumer, all of us are consumers in our respective areas and fields of choice. Maybe consumers or, bias, meaning. Ultimately, we are all consumers. Now, what is our ethical consciousness? Is it just the right price, right quality? Is the right price, right quality, right movement of the products and services, right end results, obtained from right targets fulfilled, everything right. Yes, that right can be structured in numerical terms. Here is the limitation of the deontological school. It creates a view of rights. But on top of the rights, it invites the view of duty. For example, rights of individual versus collective. I'm saying I'm a student of yours, all of your teachers. I put myself in the shoes of a student. Yes, I'm a student. And I'm learning from you. You're a teacher, you are a brilliant teacher, very nice teacher. You've got a lot of technologies, you've learned a lot of technologies and you are conversant with that. And I'm learning from that. Just a few days ago, certain thing came up in certain journal in the world, leading journal in the world, which I thought, yes, is very interesting. But then I don't find the relevance of that in my class today. I find my class, lacking that. My perception would be, my teacher has deprived me of my rights to learn squarely for the day. And then I can create a perception. I have the right to create a perception. I can create a perception saying, yes, my honorable teacher, she's or he is a distinguished person, a brilliant person, a nice, honest person, a very good person, but again, forgotten her or his duties. What is the duty of the other side, the teacher? Yes, you may miss the bus today. You may fail to grab it today. You may fail to have, understood or collected that today. You may fail to have come across with that today. But again, your tendency, your orientation towards that, would make you always updated. A teacher updated squarely on the topic or the subject is a teacher who is doing her or his duties properly, according to me, when I consider myself as a student. So the right of me as a student has a functional dependence on the right of yours as a teacher. And at the same time, the duty of you as a person, the sense of duty that you have. If you miss the bus for the day, yes, you may. It's logical. It's accepted in the world. Every day it's not possible for everyone to get updated. But if I'm oriented towards that, someday very quickly I'm going to get in touch with that, and I'm going to get across that, and I'm going to have that in my plan of things, and I'm going to share that with my observations on that with my students, and then me as a teacher, I'm going to fulfill my duty, and then I'm helping my students, I'm handholding them to fulfill their rights squarely in the program, in the context of the program that I have organized or I have been associated with, I am a part of. Here is the connection between we proceed to slide number 10. Mr. Hazza, we proceed to slide number 10. Conscience. Yes. I'm skipping some of this because I find the time is approaching. That's why I want to complete. See, conscience principle is very, very important from international and global ethics point of view. Immanuel Kant, the German origin, later on considered the British philosopher. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Put yourself in other situation. If an action is not right for everyone to take, then it is not right for anyone. Universality. Why is it this universality? Because I say it. Sang gachudvang, sang badudvang, sang bumanamsi janutam, divavagi yatha purvi, sam janana upasate. Let's combine our plan of action together. Let's connect our thoughts together. Let's have our minds connected and integrated together. Let's deliver things together for the benefit of everyone in the world in the name of God. You forget about that part. In the name of God, you forget. But in the name of goodness, you need to adhere to the goodness. Titikshyamaha damahasteyo shaucho Indio Negro Dir Vidya Satyam Akshroda Satyam Samatva Sattva Gunaha. Lord Krishna told Arjuna, is mentioned about 26 attributes of goodness. Sattva Guna. What are those 26? A few I have already mentioned. Tolerance, accepting others and all others, being truthful in all situations, being honest in all situations, being cooperative in all situations, being always into the collective. But again, with your special focus in that. Yes, you are special. You are unique. I am unique. You are unique. Every person on earth is unique. All 750 crores of people are unique. Each one is unique. But again, we all are common. Why? Vasishtha, a great sage of Rig Veda, says, Yatohu vai mani utani jayanti, jina jatani jivanti, tat prana pravishanti, tad brahman. The Supreme Lord is what? The Supreme Lord is that supreme light and the supreme force and strength which has made the entire universe, which has created you and me. And again, at the same time, which is present in you and me. Therefore, there is no dark of goodness in you and me. Potentials are there. Every person on earth has got the potential to become that good person, the best person, the noble person on earth. Even a worst criminal, he can or she can be converted into a good person, a person with goodness. You create the person, you put the person into a situation which should support and nurture the person with the elements of goodness, the attributes of goodness. And when the elements and attributes of goodness are there in place, the person would flourish. The flower or the person shall blossom from its own, covert condition. Our teacher's role is what? Jangavalkar has mentioned one thing. Before that, I want to get into the Descartes model. Slide number 11, please, Mr. Hazra. The next one, 11. René Descartes. It's a very strong philosophy, cogito ergo sum. I think, therefore, I have mentioned already. Existential principle. My existence is very important. But again, who am I? This question he has not asked me. He has not asked to himself. Which is a question asked by the ancient Indian Vedic sages. You ask yourself, who am I? Who are you? What is your identity? Are you a person whom, some of the behavioral scientists call that, you are a needing animal. Are you that? Is need all for you, for your life? Is that what Maslow has mentioned, Abraham Maslow has mentioned, the end of the thing, end of description of yours? Are you not somewhat superior to the needing thing? Are you just a bundle of needs or something more? Where from comes your creativity? Where from comes your creative intuition? Where from comes your, the focus of goodness? If it were just a needing bundle of needs within, you are not. So we need to explore, who am I? Next, please, Rawals. Slide 12. Yes, Rawals is very important. See, Rawals, this is the Harvard model. This is accepted university-wide model. The university-wide model is fairness and equity. Now, this fairness to everything, fairness to all. We need to be fair to everyone. Now, when I'm saying that fairness, well, what is that fairness? In fairness, what is that I'm going to talk about? What is the concept of fairness? Is it a fairness in the context of the word's business? Fairness in the context of the word's society? Fairness in the context of what? But again, they have come out with a very important principle, fairness and equality. And the conditions of equal opportunity, non-discriminatory factors, these are now globally accepted. Let's proceed to the next. The Indian way. Dharma, Artha, Kama, and Moksha. These are the four aspects of life. Life has to be structured across the righteousness. The principle of righteousness. What Lord Krishna was actually attempting to convince Arjuna of was this principle of righteousness. We need to adhere to the principle of righteousness. That's what is actually coined by all great personalities, great minds of the world. Buddha had a discussion with his close disciples. And in the discussion, there are demands. It's towards the end of his period of existence. There are demands on issue of oldness in life. When you grow old, what happens? There's a point mentioned by Anirudh. He mentions that the old age is so bad a period. Buddha mentions, yes, it is bad. If you look at it from external point of view, go inside, Anirudh, go inside. You will find it's a well of knowledge. It's a huge resource of knowledge. It's a huge resource of experience. Dig out from there. Take out from there. Take support from there. Learn from the accumulated learning and experiences which people have gathered across the globe by virtue of their living in the world for fairly some period of time. So what is the Dharma? If a person is holding a knowledge, a person holding a knowledge of goodness should spread it across. Artha and Kama, this values in action and fulfilling your desire and need, its essential component of living has to be there. See, our sages were so rational in their approach. But then finally you have a target. Moksha. What is this moksha? Blissful. Is not living your life from the society and getting inside a hermitage. Many people have explained in that way. It's not that. It's creating a mind where you are disillusioned. You don't have any expectation from the world. You are now a giver to the world, giving, giving, and giving. Look at the Managing Through the Future, Managing for the Future by Peter Drucker. The lust, and I think some total of his observation in his life. The last one, when he is mentioning, referring to the Bhagavad Gita, and mentioning sacrifice should be an element important for people managing the societies in the world, managing corporations in the world. And mentioned in one of the context in a deliberation in Transparency International, that abhyuthane dhruvanasha pratyashya anagatasya cha prapate phalamuttanam alavate cha arthapadam. The meaning is, abhyutthana is emergence. How do you create and build a society? A good society, a better society. You help the society, you help the organization, you help the institutions, you help all the entities to come out with the goodness from within. Abhyutthana. Let there be abhyutthana. Vivekananda said, arise, awake, and stop not till the goal is achieved. We need to arise. Abhyutthana is very important. We talk about, motivation, inspiration. It's even beyond that. Abhyutthana is, this morning lotus, which has got a green cover across. And from the, sky, the sun rises, early sun rays. It touches the outer cover of this green outer cover of the lotus. It starts gradually unfolding. It blossoms into a complete flower. It blossoms into a complete flower, and the flower is what you are. You are that flower. You are that flower. In his sonnet, William Shakespeare is also 65. He has also mentioned the flower is doing what? It's giving. It gives what? It creates a beautiful look. It creates a beautiful fragrance, but it's not consuming the same thing for itself. Peter Drucker comes to the understanding saying that, this consuming myself is not my objective. Giving out, I'm a leader, I'm a manager. What is my role? My role has to be to give out to the society, give out to the world, whatever we can, whatever I can. My role is to create that. My role is to create a new thing. My role is to create a new understanding. My role is to reposition people into their, duties, into the work, and see the world has blossomed into a world of goodness. And if that happens, then I have performed my duty properly. Hence, at the end, I have come to the end of my talking now. Then I would mention there was a wonderful concept of Rajarshi in our country during Rig Vedic period. Rajarshi is a Raja and a Rishi. The meaning is the king and a sage. Rajarshi, King Janaka, Ajatashatru, they were considered Rajarshi. What a Rajarshi is? Rajarshi is a person who is a Raja, a king, who is a benevolent person, who provides welfare to everybody, who thinks about the goodness of others, the welfare of others, who thinks that welfare for others is ultimately the welfare of yours. You, me, we all are teachers, our students are there. We need to think about the welfare of our students. How do we provide? We have got only weapon in our hand. That's the knowledge. We gather knowledge. We have the knowledge. We offer the knowledge. We offer the knowledge to everybody. We offer the knowledge for the benefit of that. Kautilya has come to the point. Praja sukhe sukhang ragyang, prajanam cha hita hitam, natma priyam hitam ragyang, prajanam tu priyam hitam. Meaning, the happiness and well-being of a king lies in the happiness and well-being of the people of the country. King should not find the personal concerns more important than the concerns of the people and masses. This is the concept of Rajarshi, the concept of leadership. India has offered throughout the ages, thousands and thousands of years of its own civilization. Friends, with these, few words, I think we have a few minutes left. I now refer back to Professor Obi Kumar Mukherjee, and I convey my profuse thanks to all participants, all teachers, my respect to you all. I respect your dedication. I respect your commitment. I respect your eagerness to give out for the cause of those students. I offer my namaskar to you all. Thank you. If any question is there, I'm here to, discuss the question. If you want, answer the question.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you for delivering this, what should I say, interesting thought in a FDP based on financial and accounting techniques. I would like to mention the participants that I wanted this lecture of this particular FDP, we being Indian teachers, we happened in the field of management and commerce education, or in the field of finance education, we have fallen the Western world. Yeah, the Western world is ahead of something, but we have been losing many of our knowledges and say over the past few centuries because of colonial rule or whatever historical factor. We have lost the tendency to recognize our knowledges, become proud of our own knowledges. So I wanted to set the session in this way that we must have a very balanced mind before embarking on financial decision making. The area of financial decision making is prone to traps. It is not that easy. Okay, 1 rupee, but brings down to a situation that brings corruption into the scenario, which all of us are aware of. Now, the government of India is basically making an effort. Our citizens are making an effort to go back to the roots, so that we can exploit the best of the West, but keeping rooted ourselves to our Indian ethos, Indian practices. That is what I have seen Professor Banerjee doing over the years. He has been visiting our department, university in various capacities. So that is why, sir, I invited you, and thank you for setting the ball rolling. Now we have time to just take 2 questions maximum, because Professor Banerjee must be tired and he has, I know, other responsibilities as well. So any 2 persons, any 2 participants? Yeah, Dr. Gautam Prasad. Yeah, just go ahead. Keep your question very brief and to the point.
Yeah, sure. This is Dr. Gautam Prasad from Sagar University. First of all, I present my sincere vote of thanks to Dr. RP sir and Abhijit sir also. Sir, my question is that if you're talking about the ethics and dharma, now if you follow the dharma, ethics also comes with the dharma. When a certain time of period, dharma and ethics are similar, but showing the contrast variant among the dharma and ethics. When Arjun is going to kill their the guru Dronacharya, there where is the ethics? There is a dharma. So kindly clarify me whether the dharma and ethics can be parallel or go through, or it is a totally different thing.
Well, thank you, Dr. Prashad. Thank you for raising an issue which is a very common issue, usually raised in forum of ethics throughout the world, anywhere you go. And this is a very common issue. See, there are two aspects of our consideration. One is, the eternal, the other one is empirical. The question is from the empirical aspect of it, meaning if you just single out an incident and come to a conclusion, then the incident appears in a way. If you take the incident in a context, then the incident becomes a representation of the wholesome context. So that if I'm not getting into the discussion, however, my connection will be there with Professor Obig Mukherjee. If you are interested, I will be sharing with you my thoughts later on. In fact, I have a lot of publications on that I can share with you. In a short, answering that would be, dharma as a principle does never conflict with the situational context. It is eternal. For example, the goodness, I have talked in terms of goodness. Goodness doesn't have any deviation or departure for. What is goodness? You have to identify. But then here, the goodness should not be construed as goodness for an individual selfish gain. It has to be goodness for all. That's why I have mentioned the universality of this, referring to Immanuel Kant also, and at the same time the Rig Vedas. You see, the goodness is something which is goodness everywhere. You go to USA, you go to Australia, you go to Asian region, you go to China, India, any part of the country, anywhere. You go to the educated people, you go to the tribal context, you go anywhere. There's goodness has to be the same. So that is the universality in the goodness, and that universality is dharma. Dharma is not the rituals. Dharma, I'm not saying that dharma is ritual. You go to a temple and worship one of the forms of God. I'm not saying that. I'm not in favor of that. Dharma is a principle, and the principle of goodness has to be adhered to. Okay, sir. Thank you. Back to Professor Obig Mukherjee.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
And we have 1 minute only left for this session. So, sir, can I take one more question? Last question?
Sure. Please. We'll address briefly.
Just one question. Yeah.
Sure.
Any participants? Okay, so because I'm not seeing much response presently, what we can do, we will definitely share the email IDs of all the resource persons with the participants, and with permission from Banerjee sir. Sir, can I share your email ID?
Yes,
so if any of the participants later on when they go through their ethics courses, or when they delve deep into the matter, if something comes to their mind, I'm sure they can approach Professor Dr. R.P. Banerjee, and sir will be happy to respond to them.
Always.
Okay.
Always.
Okay. Thank you, okay, sir. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, my dear colleagues who are present over here. So with this, we have come to the end of the first technical session.
Thank you.
Now we will have a short 15 minutes break. This is like a coffee break, which we could have had on our corridors had the campus been open, had it been a live FDP. So we take a 15 minutes break and join again in this link only at 11:45 sharp for the second session of day 1. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you all. Wish you all good days ahead. Wish you all good time ahead. Thank you all.
Thank you, Professor Banerjee. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you all.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Okay. So